My boyfriend's eyes scare the crap out of me. I'm not sure what to do from here. So my boyfriend and I have been together for 6 months, but have known and been friends with each other since we were 17 and 18. I mention this because it's relevant, but he has never, ever been abusive or manipulative, either verbally, physically, or emotionally. Never even a hint of any of that nonsense. We are both very level-headed people, so no crazy fights with screaming or anything like that, as we view that as disrespectful. There are some disagreements and stresses we have, as we are long distance and pursuing different paths in life at the moment, but we have a very healthy relationship. Now, here is the main issue, and it's kind of insane sounding, but I don't know. A couple of months ago, we were having a civil disagreement about something, and he was glancing at me from the corner of his eye and speaking to me. And the look in his eyes genuinely scared the shit out of me. And it's not about the eye color or anything like that, it's the look. You know how you hear about the soulless eyes that serial killers have? Like, no joke, that was 100% there. And I haven't ever gotten that something is wrong, you need to run feeling before with anyone else's. It obviously wasn't anything intentional on his part, and he was speaking very calmly, but I immediately stopped disagreeing and just accepted whatever he was saying because I was so unnerved. Oh my god, I'm gonna try and do that look. I didn't mention anything to him, and I just ignored it. But the next time we disagreed about something, the look was back, and again, I got so genuinely frightened, I just agreed with whatever he was saying. This doesn't happen every time we disagree or argue, but it happens enough to make me question whether I'm safe with him. I know a lot of people say this on this app, but he's actually an amazing partner to me, and I'm so very happy with him. Say the line, bot. Say the line. He's perfect in every way except for the serial killer stare that he gives me every now and then. I love my man. He doesn't freak me out. I'm just looking for advice on what to do next, and how seriously I should consider this feeling. In the comments, Snoo Chipmunk says, "This is your primitive brain recognizing a threat. It can be wrong, but you definitely should not just dismiss it. Yes, people can pretend and can be very good at it, but the mask always slips somewhere. There's a reason why people say the eyes are the windows to the soul, or possibly in this case, the abyss. I've been with my husband for over 25 years, and one of my favorite things about him is his eyes are always filled with genuine kindness and warmth. Agree. My husband is a wonderful man, and one of the very first things that put me at ease when we met were his eyes and how warm and kind they were. Even when we disagree, his eyes still radiate love. OP, trust your gut. Listen to your body. It's telling you something." The only time I ever felt this with a guy, I almost immediately stopped arguing, played dumb, and got out of there. It was a first date. I found out that a couple of years later, he almost killed his girlfriend. She was in the hospital for months and lost their baby. I'm so glad I listened to that voice. There is a Netflix movie directed and acted by Anna Kendrick called Woman of the Hour. Spoilers, so skip ahead if you want to watch it and you don't want me to spoil it for you. Based on the real story of a woman in a dating show from the 70s. She won a date with a guy, but he gave her the ick after a conversation with him backstage, during which she thought he was creepy. So she refused to go to the date. The guy was a serial killer of women. This is a really long comment, so skip ahead if you don't want to. Listen to their story and just get to the update. That's cool, but I like what they have to say. If the comments sound dramatic or seemingly catastrophizing of the situation, and you feel overwhelmed at all the feedback, and maybe it makes you want to wait and sit on the idea for a while, I just want you to at least remember my story. I will do my best to keep it short. When I was 23, I am almost 33 now, I got with someone during an I'm going to better myself stage of life, and he and I bonded over those reasons. I felt he and I were very much on the same page. He gave me that you need to run feeling about 4 months in. I had luckily already started counseling for my own personal reasons around the same time, and after casually mentioning little things here and there, the counselor alerted me to maybe be cautious of him. She encouraged us to create an escape plan in case something took a turn for the worst. I was skeptical. I thought that it was my own trust issues making the words come out of my mouth in more dramatic ways than I intended, and that's why she was being overly cautious. I had felt the feeling, but I also felt ridiculous believing things would escalate to that degree. At this point, the worst he'd ever done was throw a pillow in my direction during an argument and look at me with hate eyes. At almost exactly 9 months, a little over 2 weeks after moving into an apartment together, I found out he was lying to me about leaving for work every day. He didn't have a job and hadn't actually been working the entire time we were together, but that's a separate story. Upon being caught in his lies, he made a massive scene in public and then followed, walking behind me all the way back to the apartment, screaming and yelling at me. At this point, I still didn't believe he would go so far as to hurt me physically, but I was getting scared of him. We marched into the apartment. I'm telling him to pack his things and leave, and he's still behind me. I walk into the bedroom, and suddenly I'm pushed onto the bed. Mattress on the floor at this point. So hard that I have no time to catch myself, and I fall face first. I don't have time to turn over fully before he's on top of me with his hands around my neck and those dark eyes looking right into mine. I'm struggling, clawing, pushing, kicking. I start getting tunnel vision, and the edges start to go black, and then he lets go. He was saying and yelling things that I don't remember, honestly. All I could think of was trying to remember and execute the escape plan while avoiding him attacking me again. He ended up throwing me around the apartment some more. I managed to get the front door open, but he grabbed me back. It was like out of the movies where the girl is gripping the door frame with both hands, literally screaming at the top of her lungs into her apartment hallway for help, but no one comes, and then the guy yanks her back into the room. I can't remember how it happened, but at some point he went onto the balcony briefly, and the minute he left, I ran with what I could grab. Whatever was in my purse and my shoes. I opted for the elevator, but then realized how stupid that was just to stand there and wait for him to come after me, so I ran down the stairs. Just before the stairwell door closed, I heard him open the apartment door. We were on the 9th floor, but I'd already pressed the elevator button, so the entire time I'm running and jumping down the stairs, I'm praying, terrified he isn't on the elevator and doesn't get to the lobby first. I ran out the doors and up the road to the leasing office. I looked back once to make sure as I turned a corner and kept running. I burst into the leasing office and barely managed to blurt out amidst the hyperventilating that my boyfriend had just attacked me, and it was only when I spoke those words out loud that I broke down crying in the beginning stages of realizing that I just became a statistic and that had actually just happened to me. The next day was spent visiting the hospital and police station to take pictures of the marks he left. He went to jail for 36 days only. He still has a restraining order, and I have genuinely spent the past 10 years of counseling and therapy trying to find and forgive myself for putting myself in that situation when I felt that feeling but didn't listen. 9 months. It was only 9 months. Please, don't make the same mistake I did. Listen to that feeling and don't let anyone, including yourself, try to convince you otherwise. You don't need proof. The feeling is proof enough. It's not a result of insecurity, trust issues, or immaturity. It's a measurable safety mechanism that women have developed over centuries from dealing with covertly dangerous men. Instinct is as real as the heat from the sun or the cold from the air. It may not be a sign that he's a full-blown murderer, but it's 100% a sign that he isn't right for you, and that's all the validation that you need. A good guy will never, ever, ever give you those types of scary feelings. Don't let your sympathy for potentially hurting someone else override your own empathy and sense of safety for yourself. Unless every man you encounter gives you that feeling, the feeling is most definitely coming from him, not paranoia. Please take care of yourself. Edit. I never thought sharing my story would result in all of this recognition. I'm beside myself with appreciation. I can't begin to express how much it means to me to receive your support in kind words, expressing your happiness at my safety. I healed a lot more today, and I am so grateful I chose to share a piece of my life with you all. Thank you so, so much. You all hugged my heart today, and I really needed that hug. Wow, Stories like that are so incredibly powerful, and I feel like they need to be shared, because I know when we get advice from people on Reddit here that tell people, just leave him, just leave. And then I get a lot of people in the comments being like, Reddit is so quick to pull the trigger. Not everything needs you to run away from that guy or girl. You don't have to ignore that. You can work these things out. Not everything is breakup worthy. Well, obviously to this woman, in this very lengthy story that she's just shared, to her it wasn't breakup worthy, but even her counselor, her therapist, was able to say, hey, there's some warning signs there. Maybe have an escape plan just in case things go downhill for you. And as we can see, what that resulted in was very much a breakup worthy moment. That was a breakup worthy person. He deserved to be broken up with and left much earlier than that 9 months, especially given all the warning signs. I think it's important for people to learn from others' experiences. I won't call this story a mistake from the person that shared it. I don't think it was a mistake to stay with him. It was an experience. It wasn't a good one. It has obviously haunted her for 10 years, and that is terrible. But if her experience can help other people get out of serious and detrimental circumstances like we've just seen here, and potentially OP of this original story is also going through, then that's amazing, and that's what I want. I want people to have more pattern recognition for dangerous situations that they may find themselves in. This pretty damn well mirrors what OP has experienced and told us in this original post. So, from that, I hope that OP in this update breaks up with him, but we'll see. And now, onto the update. For context, I made a post in the beginning of the year asking for advice because my boyfriend would get this weird hollow look in his eyes whenever we would argue. If you're curious, just look up false killer whale stares, and that's the best comparison that I can make. Regardless, the post got a lot more attention than I was expecting. A fairly popular YouTuber even reacted to it. That was wild. And no, it wasn't me. It was this guy named Coop. He reminds me a lot of Charlotte Dobre. I was super overwhelmed with all the comments and DMs telling me different things. So I chose to just forget that I ever made the post in the first place and just move on. After all, my boyfriend and I were in a totally super healthy relationship, right? Right? It's so funny looking back at my original post because I insisted so hard that we had a healthy relationship when really something was always off in hindsight. But since there was no textbook abuse, I just ignored it in the beginning. But after I made that post, I started being more critical of the way that he treated me and noticing things that I hadn't before. Now, I'm not sure if that new awareness is what caused more arguments to start happening, or if it was because we stopped being long distance and started to live together, but we started fighting daily. Turns out, he was pretty controlling from the beginning, discreetly making me feel bad about hanging out with friends and family instead of him, insisting that I not go out for safety reasons. After a while, this turned into him getting angry if I gave literally anyone else attention, even my brothers. He would get mad if I didn't approve plans, either with friends or family, with him ahead of time, but I wouldn't have to approve his plans. Always checking my phone, but he'd get mad and snatch his phone if I ever looked through his. You get the picture? All the while, he was free to have his own social life and do whatever he wanted, and if I ever complained about any of it, he would call me dramatic. There were so many other rules that I had to live by, or else I'd get ghosted. I was a pretty calm person before getting into this relationship, but I would often find myself exploding out of frustration of being isolated, not heard, and humiliated. For example, once I was crying because we were arguing for so long and I just wanted to go to sleep, but he wouldn't let me, and he started laughing and imitating my crying face. I genuinely exploded and started yelling, and he didn't apologize, but rather said that he was just trying to lighten the mood. I don't know why I believed it, but I felt so bad for yelling that I spent the next 2 days pacifying him so that he could forgive me. You might be asking, OP, he was an immature control freak. Why didn't you dump him? Good question. 1, for the longest time, I genuinely felt like the bad guy in our arguments because he would never yell, but I would. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. There were definitely mistakes I made, and I should have handled myself better, but in our arguments, they would last hours because he would drag them on by connecting every mistake to something bigger. If I let my phone die while on call with him, that meant that I didn't love, respect, or care about him. I would get overwhelmed and ask for a break or to go to sleep, and he would refuse and continue on, and drop in hurtful comments and jokes until finally I would snap. And the second I snapped and yelled, I became the villain in my mind, and I would feel terrible. 2. There were many moments I wanted to leave, but I felt like I couldn't leave because of the mental games he would play. He had this thing where he would love to punish me and give me consequences for my bad behavior. These consequences could be 3 days without speaking, it could be me having to cancel a hangout that I was looking forward to, etc., but after any consequence, he would follow it up with a stubborn showering of what felt like genuine affection, love, and comfort. I would be angry, and I would push him away, and he'd persist until I wasn't angry anymore. The way he'd act after I'd been isolated made me feel like nobody has ever loved or will love me like that. He admitted to me once that he'd do similar things to his dog when he was a kid. He would beat/pinch his pets growing up just so that when they would cry for help, he could hug and kiss them. Before we started dating, he told me he liked to comfort people. I didn't think that meant he would take it upon himself to provide both the suffering and then the subsequent comfort. Is that not insane? I can't make this shit up. The dude was a nut. And what's even more mind-boggling is that everyone thinks he's the sweetest, most respectful guy out there. Hell, I was good friends with him before we dated, and I thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. Whenever I finally had the balls to break up with him, our mutual friends were shocked to find out that I ended it because he was just the nicest guy. And OP, he was husband material. Sorry for the rambling. Even though we broke up 2 months ago now, it's honestly still pretty confusing to get my mind around. Anyway, we're done now, and I'm never planning on speaking to him again. I definitely wasted a lot of time with him, but oh well. Better than wasting a lifetime, I guess. The moral of the story is listen to your gut, or at least some type of common sense. In the comments, According Pears says, "Wow, very textbook cycle of abuse stuff. I'm so sorry that you experienced this. The loving stuff he did was what's called love bombing, and is a tactic abusers use to keep their victims dependent on them. The cycle is tension, incident, reconciliation, calm. And that just repeats over and over. You'd have the tension build-up of trying to follow his rules, but still want to live your life. The incident of a blow-up when things got to too much of a head, the reconciliation where he would love bomb you back to not being mad at him, and then the calm period before he would start to ramp things up to get back to the tension stage. Very proud of you for leaving this guy. It can be really hard to leave an abuser, and often takes people several tries before they end up going back before ever getting out for good." Edit to add, the needling until you blow up, and then he makes it look like you're the crazy one, is a super common abuse tactic too. Basically, they'll poke and prod and say increasingly horrible and enraging things, but since they're sociopathic, they don't feel things the same way, so they stay calm for all of it. Finally, the victim will lash out, and then suddenly it's all about how irrational and insane and emotional you are. It's how they manage to keep public opinion on their side too. Now he gets to say that you're the ex who was always screaming when he stayed calm. If things had ever gotten to the point of a police call, you would look like the unstable one, and him just the calm, perplexed, innocent boyfriend. Well, there you go, guys. There's some more wisdom if you didn't know what to look for in these patterns of abuse and manipulation. I'm very glad that OP did get out of there eventually and recognize her partner for the serial killer staring oddity that he is. She absolutely did the right thing here and got out before he started escalating his behavior, because look at that, much like that really long story that was shared, that behavior didn't really start escalating until they moved in together, which is what OP herself experienced. It pretty much was an exact mirror of that. And yeah, rules for thee, but not for me. No, I'm the one that has to approve all of your plans. I'm the one that makes you feel guilty for having a social life and leaving me in the house. But anything that I do to you, you cannot do to me. And I will escalate my behavior if you try to enforce the same standards that I impose upon you. Yeah, no, that is not being in a relationship. That is being a prisoner to someone else. No thank you. Ain't nobody got time for that. You did the right thing leaving his ass, OP. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for the story and thank you for the update. I'd love to know what you guys think of this one in the comments down below. Our next post is by user Didn't Leave Before, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to leave my friend's baby shower just because my ex didn't want her boyfriend to see me? She's not technically an ex, since we were never in an actual relationship. I, 26 male, was back home for a few months almost 2 years ago. We hooked up for I'd say 4 months until I flew back out of state for work again. Her and I didn't see each other again until just recently at this baby shower. I guess they became friends through this mum group. My friend has one other kid, and they became good friends, so that's why she was also invited. And I was gonna say hi when I saw her there, but she ignored me. Then that's when I noticed that she was there with her boyfriend and their baby, so I thought that it was better to keep my distance. But she actually approached me like 10 minutes later by the bathroom in the house. She asked me if I could leave because she's with her boyfriend, and it's just very awkward with the both of us there at that party. But like, I haven't even approached them at all, so why would it be awkward if we don't interact during the party? She wasn't letting it go, and she actually told me please, and it's complicated. I told her if her boyfriend doesn't know that we have a history, then he won't need to because I honestly don't care. All I'm doing is being here celebrating one of my close friends' day, so if she leaves me alone, I will leave her alone. That didn't end up being the case. They left not even an hour later. I kept my word, though, about not going near them, but one of my friends told me that her boyfriend saw me, and for whatever reason, they started arguing. It wasn't subtle either. They went to the front of the house, but you could still hear what sounded like them raising their voices at each other. And a few minutes later, I saw her walking to my friend, probably telling her bye, but she definitely looked right at me after that, like she's super pissed. Everyone at the party was confused after, so they were all talking about it for the rest of the time. For the first time in a long time, she texted me since I've never changed my number, and she told me, thanks for ruining a party when all of this could have been avoided. I asked her what could have been avoided, but again, she doesn't tell me. She just thinks that it's my fault for whatever shit went down. Then after my friends found out that she asked me to leave, they think I'm the asshole for not doing that. The whole party was meant for my friend, and it was turned into some drama just because I wouldn't leave, even if it was for some unknown reason. I don't know what to think now, or why it was such a big deal that we were there at the same party when neither of us even talked at all. Am I the asshole for being the cause of a scene because I denied her request? In the comments, Zolo Blaze says, not the asshole. If she would have kept her distance, none of this would have happened. You realized and kept your distance, and it was 2 years ago. If you're still stuck on a hookup from years ago while in a relationship, there is an issue. And you're also a friend of the host, so she has no right to tell you to leave. OP replies, she did keep her distance aside from talking to me in private. I don't know what his deal was, but it was the fact that he saw me at the party at all is what set him off apparently. My question is, how did he know who you were without her telling him? Like, if she wouldn't have said anything, I don't think there would have been an issue. OP says, guessing that maybe she told him or something prior to us bumping into each other at the baby shower. She looked freaked out, so obviously neither of us were expecting to see each other. Info. How old is her kid, and could it possibly be yours? This seems like a huge overreaction for a previous hookup with no issues or commitments to each other. OP says, fuck, you guys really have me scratching my head with this one. I didn't get to see him much, but I'd say probably under a year old, but definitely not like a newborn. Well shit, now I'm more lost. Typical pregnancies are 40 weeks, around 9 months. If the kid is also around 9 months old, that's a year and a half ago. Depending on when your hookup ended, it's a possibility. If you've had no prior contact with a boyfriend, it doesn't make sense for him to be so angry for you to just be in the same room, especially if you guys were avoiding each other. OP says, I need to talk to her now. Well, first, I could be wrong about how old the kid is, probably, but yeah, this is some shit that I need to know ASAP. Holy shit, man. Honestly, I really don't know what to think. There's also a chance that she cheated on him with you and later confessed to him about it. OP says, you think so? She never told me about being with anyone. It would make sense though. This is way too confusing. Impled replies, I think it's more likely than the kid being yours, and it's not like she'd advertise she was in a relationship if she was planning on cheating. The boyfriend could also just get super jealous, or maybe he just had some issues with you specifically. All I can do is speculate. Even if the kid was yours, she clearly doesn't want you in his life if she never told you about him, so you might just want to apologize to keep the peace and distance yourself from the both of them. Well, onto the judgment of the story. Am I the asshole for refusing to leave my friend's baby shower? No. I don't think you could have known in the moment what the problem was. All you had from her was extremely vague. Look, it's complicated, but I just don't really vibe with you right now, and you need to get the hell out of here, alright? Scram. Very odd incident, and I think that chain of comments there probably kind of hits the nail on the head here as to why it was that she had such a problem. You didn't have all of the information in the moment. You still don't have all the information. All the friends didn't either, but for them to all turn on you and be like, yeah, you should have left. Look what you caused, OP. What the hell are they going on about saying that? You guys don't have all the answers either. What the hell are you getting up OP for? It's not like he himself was like starting shit with her in the bathroom when that happened. I don't know, it does seem like there is some tension between you and the boyfriend there that she didn't want to talk about. I still don't think you're the asshole for refusing to leave. And now, on to the update. Damn, I don't know what to say, but everyone really wanted to know what happened. I'm going to start off first and say that I spoke to my friend whose baby shower it was to apologize for the drama. I had no idea that was going to happen. Just so she hears it from me first, like a commenter suggested I do. She had no idea that my ex and I had a past, but she told me that it was fine. The party was awkward after that, but that's on them, and she doesn't blame me. It was great to hear because this was meant for her to celebrate her baby, and as her friend, I wanted to be there celebrating with them. So I got all the confirmation from her, plus you guys, thumbs up, that I wasn't the asshole. Obviously, all of you want to know the answer to the main question, if this baby was my kid, or what was their deal after all. We did talk on the phone. She went first and beat me to that topic. Probably read my mind because she started off with telling me that she had something important to talk about after apologizing for blaming me about the party. To sum it up, we agreed to get a paternity test done ASAP because I couldn't handle this curiosity. It was already driving me crazy. He is definitely my kid. I've looked at the results a million times since they got back. But she already knew that my son was mine. She found out she was pregnant after I left. She didn't want to tell me because when I went back for work, she wasn't told until after I'd already flew back. And that hurt her. Since it seemed like I didn't care much, she was scared that I wouldn't be willing to go back and help take care of our kid. That was hard for me to hear. I was actually crying when we talked about it in person. I'm still in shock learning this, but she let me come meet him a day ago, and it was emotional AF. Holding him really got me. He's so damn big already. That whole day, I spent it with my son when we stayed up late, talking about how we're gonna do this then. This is new to me, so we're gonna go with the flow, but holy fuck, I have a son. That's so crazy, right? As far as her boyfriend, it seems like it wasn't cheating. At least from what she tells me and the little bit of information I got from him, which he was pissed about. They weren't exclusive either, but after she got pregnant, he was only willing to be around as long as I wasn't. And obviously, seeing me pissed him off because he thought that I was still living out of state. It's a mess right now, but he doesn't want to be around if I am, but my son is my kid. She told me not to worry about their relationship because the only thing she wanted was to make sure that my son had a dad in his life. Even if I've got no idea what I'm doing right now, being his dad is what I want to be for him. We already missed out on all this time. I'm excited to see him again tomorrow. In the comments, OK Conversation says, wow, all that shit went down really, really fast, in the span of a week. And OP says, the party was longer than a week ago, but taking the test and finding out I have a kid, yeah, my brain's been on overload with all these sudden changes. What paternity test did you use to get the results in under a week? OP says, the lab we did the paternity test at made it available in 2 days. It cost more, but it was worth it to find out as soon as possible. Good on you for being present now that you are aware. Hopefully her boyfriend can realize that you're not an enemy. Having more parents is not a bad thing for the kid as long as everyone can put his well-being before any petty drama and territorial disputes. Fingers crossed that things continue to improve. OP says, well, he kept to his word and they broke up. It's too bad he couldn't see it that way, but at least he left in a time when my son won't have memories of him. As awful as it is that you found out this way, I'm so glad you now have the opportunity to build a relationship with your son. All the best to you. And OP says, it sucks because I would have loved to be there while he was a newborn. I never got to hear his heartbeat for the first time, or witness his birth, or be there for the newborn milestones. At least he's still a baby right now and he can grow up knowing that I'm his dad. He's not walking yet, so I will do everything to be there seeing his first steps. Entire Kangaroo says, guys, use a rubber, good lord. As someone who came of age in the 90s, when sex ed was like, yeah, teenage pregnancy is a drag and all, but unprotected sex can kill you, not using a condom when you're not exclusive is just wild to me. Immediately no. X was still definitely in the wrong, but the update does make her more understandable. She really had no right to tell OP to leave his close friend's party, but if I was in a situation where my boyfriend threatened to leave me and my kid just for my ex being in the same room, I probably would have taken the risk and asked him to leave too. I agree with that. I think that's the most unreasonable thing to have demanded her to do in this situation. I don't even know how that would have worked out long term because there is no way they wouldn't have run into that guy eventually, especially considering they went to the baby shower of the close friend of OP. That really means there is not too many degrees of separation between these people, and OP would have popped up every now and then. The breakup was going to happen at some point. Unless she intended to never tell OP about the child, and never reached out to OP, and never gave any reason for OP to be in their life at all. I just don't see how her current boyfriend / ex now ever thought that that agreement would hold up. It's just so unlikely. And it would be wrong for the kid as well, because you're just gonna hide his dad from him his whole life? Him breaking up with her was the only good outcome here. I really do think you'd damage the child if he was to stick around. If he has so much resentment for OP, I can only imagine he takes that resentment out on the son down the line. That's not a healthy starting point. Regardless, I'm glad that it all worked out. It is not how I thought this update would go, but very happy for you, OP. Congratulations on the child. Couldn't be me. Thanks for the post, thanks for the update, and I'd love to know what you guys think of this one down in the comments below. Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.